Hello, guys. I am so grateful to have my guest in the studio today. We actually try to do this sometimes in December. It didn't work. He is extremely busy, an extremely busy
Yeah.
person, and having him here today, I don't take for granted at all. Mr. Honorable Seyi Adisa is a Nigerian public administrator and speaker, a lawyer, also a member of the John Maxwell Leadership team as a leadership coach. And he is a politician, and we're going to get into that. Not just a politician in that very interesting country called Nigeria. Um, he has a law degree from the University of Birmingham, a graduate of the BPP Law School, where he obtained a distinction in his legal practice course. Um, and to complement his role as a public servant in Nigeria, Seyi Adisa recently secured a master's degree in public administration from the University of Birmingham. And he also underwent Harvard's continuing education module, where he took the fundamental of strategy course. And currently, he is the honorable member of representing Afijo State constituency of Oyo State in Oyo State House of Assembly. And I dare say very soon, potentially, um, potentially the governor of Oyo State. Please remember me. Potentially one of the governors at some point, I'm sure. And he'll probably rise through the ranks, and potentially we can have great men like this become the president of that country for starting so early. So we're going to get into a lot of the conversations, but I'm just saying it here now. It's a record. This will be on YouTube and everywhere. Remember me, your kingdom, Mr. Seyi Adisa. All right, everybody, please welcome. Please welcome today to teach us something on leadership as we look at responsibilities of leadership, Honorable Seyi Adisa. Hello, sir. Over to you. Good to have you again.
All right. So the line was breaking, but I think
Yeah.
it's time to address this wonderful audience. So let me start by saying a big thank you. Thank you for this invitation. I said it earlier on. I am not taking it for granted. I take it as an extreme privilege to have the opportunity, to come on your platform and really to talk about leadership. You've asked that I speak about responsibilities of leadership. And, the first thing that came to mind when, I saw that topic, I thought how deep, because everyone seems to be attracted with the perks of being in office, with the fame and some of the benefits of being the leader. But rarely do people think, what is the price to be paid? What are the responsibilities that are involved with this position, with this leadership attributes that I strive for? And I believe it's in all of us. We're all, and I come from the school of thought that everyone has the leader potential in them. I believe we're all born leaders. And the question is, are you going to become the leader that you're supposed to be, or are you going to go not knowing you had that leader potential? It's always in the potential form until we decide to develop the leader within us. So I think this is a wonderful topic, and I'm going to share from my experience. Now, let me say, early on, I am a Christian politician. And so a lot of my values and a lot of my philosophy comes from this point of view. I'm a John Maxwell team member, and I am a big fan of Miles Monroe. His works continue to live. And so a lot of my thinking was premised on some of the works that they have done before now. So just to put that out there, and I'm going to be using my political experiences to shed more light as to what I mean about about leadership. As I say, I will be talking for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll be happy to take questions after that. So, responsibilities of leadership. I think the starting point um, every time I think about leadership is the fact that you kind of need to discover your gift, because you're going to lead in your area of gifting. So the starting point is to learn. When we talk about responsibility, these are things that we need to, if you like, be and do if we're going to, be the type of leaders that we're supposed to be. The starting point for me is to learn. The second point is to live it out, and the third part is to lead it and pass it on to people. So let's start with the learning part. And this is a John Maxwell module that I learned a long time ago, and I use it. It's the same way he says a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. You kind of have to know first. So the first thing is a learning. And every time I talk about leadership, when I wanted to take my role as the honorable member in the House of Assembly, there are 32 of us. We represent the 7 to 10 million people in Oyo State. My constituency has approximately 250,000 people. And I kept thinking, I'm going into a position of leadership. Certainly, I need to learn a little bit more. I have led in several capacities before now, but what are the responsibilities attached to this new role, this level of influence that I'm going into? And so it's instrumental that you understand that there needs to be a learning experience. And for me, the first thing I thought about is I need to become a better leader. And I sought out, the John Maxwell program, and I went for that. But you may not have John Maxwell program. You may not have, something around you to look for. But I think there's some key learning processes you have to go for. You may have been living some during, in your experience thus far, but going into certain levels of influence, you need to improve yourself. One of those things are, what are the values? What are the principles? What are the laws? These are things that are important that you need to take cognizance of as you take on leadership. Now, for me, leadership is influence. It's not a title. It's not a position. Although in most cases, particularly in Africa, we tend to see leaders as those. And though we know that is the lowest level of leadership anybody should aspire to be, is being in office. Because if that is the level of leadership you're playing at, once you leave office, then nobody cares, you withhold, or you have no influence over people. So the first thing for me is to learn. And for me, I started to ask myself this question. As a honorable member, what are the values that I need to hold very dear? Some of them are already core to me, but my background is I had worked with the former governor for 8 years. So I had worked in the background. I was learning. I had seen a lot of things, but I also understood that I needed to learn some more if I'm going to work effectively in this new position. And so I started to research and say, okay, what are these values that are important? One of the values that I learned and I'm still, bringing forth in my work or in my journey as a member of parliament representing over 250,000 people is a compassionate heart. This is something that I am having to understand that really I am here because of these 250,000 people. I sit in that seat every day because of these 250,000 people. And so what concerns them concerns me. What affects them affects me. In truth, I live in the capital city, which is called Ibadan. And my constituents live, about an hour away from me. But I need to be in touch with their feelings. I need to be in touch with what affects them. I need to be in touch with the things that matter to them. Otherwise, I cannot represent them properly. So the first leg of this responsibility of leadership is you need to learn. What are your belief systems? What are the things that have formed you? You know, you need to, if you like, do a check on it and find out that, is this compatible to where I am going to, or where I'm going to operate at. And so for me, I had to check my value system properly. When I was an honorable member, I didn't have to be as compassionate. I didn't have to, if you like, be as courageous. I didn't even have to be as sacrificial. But these are values I now hold very dear to me, because as a leader at the forefront, you have to sacrifice. It matters little what you want. It matters more what what you're able to sacrifice for those that you have been sent to lead. Leadership is a responsibility, and we need to understand that. So for me, I sort of had to go through, one of my favorite books is John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And these are things that I needed to, maybe I had been activating some of those skills or values without knowing, but it came to my forefront. In my organization, we have 3 C's as our core values. The first one is care. The second one is commitment or consistency, as you were. And the third one is collaboration. Everything we do is circled around that. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When you represent old women, old men, young men, people that are students, and the diverse range of people, you have to care. It doesn't matter how much you know, you have to continue to show care. And then one of those things people have said consistently is that you must be consistent. It's not enough to do it once. It's not enough to show up once. You have to be consistent. People are key to, do things so that people say things about them. But if you want to know if somebody really means something, it's the consistency in that process. You can show up and do eye service once in a while, but you need to be consistent. The last thing, obviously, is collaboration, because if you're going to do anything of significant value, you're going to do it with people. You're going to need a team. And for me, I collaborate with my team, and I collaborate with people on the outside. So the first leg of this responsibility of leadership is learning. You need to understand what values drive you. Your values will affect your thinking. Your thinking will affect your emotions. Your emotions will ultimately affect the way you believe things operate. Your belief system will affect your behavior. Your behavior will form your attitude. Your attitude, when all of you in that area have it, becomes a culture, and then that's what continues to drive other people's values. So for me, it is important that I know the values that drive me. At the end of the day, it is always that for me is always the starting point. What values drive you? Because it's those values that will eventually show up in your behavior, which will show up in your mindset. It will show up in the attitude in which you create. And it is key that you have the right leader attitude. You have the right leader potential, the right leader mindset, which starts from the values that you hold. So that's the first point. The second point is you now need to live this lifestyle. There are many leaders that talk, but their talk is not what they walk. And it is a responsibility of leadership that you make sure that your walk and your talk are consistent. Now, John Maxwell will say everything rises and falls on leadership. And that's the honest truth. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Miles Monroe would say nothing develops, nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing succeeds, nothing advances without leaders, without a leader showing up. So for me, you need to live this lifestyle. And for me, as a politician, as an honorable member representing people, one of the things I ensure I do is that I don't just tell people I care about them. I show up. During the pandemic, it was a strange time to lead. It was a strange time to lead because nobody quite knew what to do. There's a difference between doing and being. You see, anybody can copy doing things. You can copy somebody else to do something, but you have to be something in a situation where there's nothing to copy. And so when we came through the COVID-19 pandemic and nobody knew what to do, my values had to drive the way I was leading. So the first thing that came to my mind then is that, wait a minute. People are concerned. People don't know what is happening. If you care about them, one of the first things you need to do is inform them. Let them know what is happening. So I started running about to do different platforms on the radio, using grassroots mobilization networks to disseminate information to several people, and just trying to get people to know that, look, you need to wash your hands, you need to, keep yourself safe and all of that. And the second thing that happened is people started to say, well, we're hungry. You're telling us not to go to work, but the palliatives being shared is not enough. Now, again, there is no template to copy. And so you have to dig on your inside and live your values, show that responsibility of leadership and live it out. And the second thing that came to my mind is my people are in a situation whereby they cannot go out, they cannot get enough food, they need food in their homes. And so I needed to get out with the business community, and we had to, share food with a lot of people and a lot of items like that. Again, I insist that I was living out this responsibility of leadership, not based on a template. It was based on my values. And those were the things that was driving me. The last thing is that when they came up and they said, okay, now we need to use nose mask, it became another challenge for me. How do I ensure that as many vulnerable people in my community have the mask to protect themselves? And this was another challenge. I had to work again with the tailors and so many other people to get nose masks to as many families. What am I saying? A responsibility of leadership is to live it out. It is not enough to keep talking and not step up. It has to be a lifestyle. It has to be a model. Every time there is a problem, it is an opportunity to lead. Every time there is a problem is an opportunity to lead. I can't say that enough, because, it was an option to say, look, I've never seen this before. Everybody, stay safe, stay safe in your homes. Don't go anywhere. Let the executive part of government find out what to do. But you can't do that as a leader. You need to find out, look, I'm here because of people, and I need to show that in the way I live. And that was one of the things I had to take as a responsibility of leadership. The last part of leadership, which I want to quickly jump on before I open the floor for questions, is and if you like, this is the part of the leadership chain that is always missing, is the passing on of these leadership values, is the transfer of transgenerational leadership, is the ability to let those coming behind also see their potential, develop them, and make them leaders. That is the, if you like, last leg of the responsibility of a leader. That's where you talk about successors and succession planning in leadership. So you, first of all, as I said, learn these values, and you need to understand they form who you are. Then you have to live it out. You have to show it. You have to not just it's not lip service. It has to be you. It has to be a lifestyle. And then the last leg is, how am I going to transfer this to those coming? How am I going to build other leaders? How am I going to get other people, to become the leaders that they are? We live in a society whereby we have been washed that only certain people can lead. Only certain people are born for leadership. Only certain people, leadership is not for everybody. However, we know that we all lead in different forms. And so I believe that the last responsibility of leadership is transferring it to those that were coming behind. Sometimes it's your children. Sometimes it's your team members. Sometimes it's the young person in your office that is looking up to you and is saying, sir, I have this dream in my heart. and I want to become a leader. I want to become an effective leader. I want to become a transformational leader. Now, because you know the way, you have gone the way, it behoves on you now to show the way. That is the part of leadership I tend to say we don't have in Africa generally, because once you leave, you kind of don't care about those coming behind you. But it is a responsibility of leadership that you start to mentor and bring up other leaders. In the John Maxwell's hierarchy of leadership or of influence, it's if you like, the level 4, whereby you're growing other leaders. We need to grow more leaders. Enough of followers that do not understand who they are. They need to understand who they are, and they need to be able to get these new leaders, as it were, to take their position as leaders, because we have it in us. We just need to discover our area of gifting, which is the area where we're going to lead. So I believe that is the last leg of the leadership traits. If you look at it, even through there are too many templates, too many examples. That is the missing leg. And for me, that is one of the leadership problems we have in Africa. Those that have gone before, that have shared that I mean, you would hear us talking about in Nigeria, for example, where I am. They say things like, in the 60s, we had great leaders. And in the 50s, we had great leaders. And then you ask them, so what happened? What happened? Where did all of them go? What did they suddenly disappear and not pass the torch? Did they not pass the baton? Did they not light the torch of others coming behind? That is a responsibility of leadership. And that is that part that we cannot overemphasize. We need to get more leaders that take it as a responsibility, as an assignment to grow others. Now, in my space, what I'm doing is I have a leadership program called I Become. And one of the things that I do is using some of the John Maxwell content, is to develop leaders around me. They are leaders. Unfortunately, the environment doesn't make them believe they are. So we start with the mindset. We tweak that mindset. We let them know that you are a leader. And then now you know you're a leader and you discovered your area of gifting, then we now need to start developing certain things in you. That heart of service, that discipline, that personal growth, that ability to solve problems, those things that will make you a solid leader. Those are the things we now start developing in those coming behind us. But I think if you look at Nigeria as an example, the so-called good or great leaders left, and then this is where we are. But the time has come where we need to rise up and say, we are going to learn, we're going to live it out, and we're going to lead it. We're going to transform others. We're going to pass it on to others. We're going to get more people believing that, look, I am a leader in the area of sports. I'm a leader in the economy sector. I'm a leader in the health sector. I'm a leader in the spiritual sector. I'm a leader in politics. I'm a leader in governance. I'm a leader in different sectors, spheres of influence. That is what we need to do. But the starting point, as I said, is values. And the difference between being and doing is that when you just teach the doing, you have people that have knowledge, but then they have no morals, no compassion. So they manipulate people rather than show love and empathy and compassion for people. So you have some very good leaders, skillful, but they don't have the character. They don't have the heart. And that's why values are so important, so that we don't just teach all the techniques on how to lead. We don't teach all the techniques on public speaking and having presence and having command of the audience and having all of those things. And then the person you teach uses all of those knowledge he has gained to manipulate people and to get people to work or to be under them. We need to ensure that you not just in skill or in competence, but also in character. And that's where we talk about the values of humility, the values of sacrifice, the values of compassion, of courage, of service. Those are the values of seeing people as valuable, and because they're valuable, you want to add value to them. So on this note, I think I should stop. I love Q&As, and so I'm looking forward to all your questions coming in.
Wow, wow, wow. That was so good. In fact, I could hear your passion rise as we're getting towards the end. I particularly loved where you started stalling with um you really had to pick what it is that you had to say at that point. No, that's so great teaching. In fact, when I was hearing you, I was saying to myself, I said, there are John Maxwell team members and there are John Maxwell team members. You have so imbibed a lot of the teachings of John Maxwell, as in you're speaking and breathing it literally. Yeah, cool. So if I believe, I can't remember, I may throw you under the bus here. I believe you're still under 40, right? Am I right? Or have you crossed 40 now?
Yes, I am.
You have
Yes,
crossed
yes.
40 now. Okay, good.
No, no, no. I still have some years
Still
to
under
go.
40. Oh,
No,
wow.
no, no, no,
So,
no.
guys,
I'm not 40 yet.
you're not 40 yet, still under 40 yet. Um, and for me, that's just such an amazing feat, especially in a time where a lot of people have been, like you were saying, have been told we don't actually know the definition of young and old again, especially coming
Mm,
from um, the nation you and I were born. So within
mm,
this time, not even yet 40, a
mm,
former principal private secretary to the executive governor,
mm.
former, I think he's late now, right? Is it a late
Yes.
one? Chimobe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Currently the honorable member of Afijo State constituency of your state. And
Mm-hmm.
so let's go back a bit. You schooled briefly in Nigeria, right, before studying a law degree here in Birmingham.
That's
Um,
correct.
is there is there something about law and leadership? Because I mean, when you look at politicians like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Fidel Castro, they all seem
Mm-hmm.
to have something with law. Is that where someone like me missed it? Because I just couldn't, I just couldn't hack studying law. You know, can you possibly go into that a bit? I know the
Mm-hmm.
answers, but I just want you to fully disabuse the minds of people that actually leadership doesn't actually have anything to do with your course of study. But then let me possibly find out if there's something about law and leadership, especially in political aspects, that prepares one for that kind of thing.
So that's a very good question, actually. And I'll backtrack a little bit. When I was 13, I'm going to study law now. When I was 13, I had to make a decision. So in the Nigerian schooling system, you have the junior school and the senior school. And when you get to
Mm,
senior school, you need to make a decision whether you want to do science subject or art
mm,
subject, as we called it then. And so that was the first time I had to ask myself, what do you want to do with your life? You know, and that's where vision comes in and conviction,
no,
because I was just praying like, God, I really don't know. My sister is a doctor, and I like the white, you know, gown she wears, and the problem is I don't like blood and I don't like the smell of medicine, so I don't know what sort of doctor I'm going to be. So I was like, okay, so God, what am I supposed to do? And I got this inner feeling that you're going to go into governance. And I mean, as a 13-year-old, there was no politician around me, no government official around me. So that was a bit scary because what do you do? The only thing to do is take the hunch. And I told my parents I'm going to do arts. And so I studied government in secondary school. But when I got to college in London, I started researching what subject do politicians
wow,
study. Because
that's
at this
impressive.
point it's still a hunch as well, because you don't quite understand it. You just sense this
Mhm.
is what it's supposed to be. So and then I started researching. I like you, Abraham Lincoln, all of them. These guys who studied law. So I kept thinking, is it that law is what you have to study at university? And then I thought to myself, the worst case that could happen is at least lawyers are mostly rich, and you're going to need money to join politics. So let me
Yeah.
do law, and then when I have made some money, then I will change into, I would, if you like, go into politics. So that was, where it started from. I figured out that law was the skill, or the skills of law, i.e., advocacy, i.e., an analytical mind, i.e., the ability to listen, the ability to comprehend in quick time. These are skill sets that you get as a lawyer, and these are skill sets that help you as a politician. So even though you gain some of those skill sets in other subjects, as it were, for me it was what the models I was looking at, what they said. That was the real reason I chose law as the platform to get to politics.
That's so good. In fact, you've answered the question. So for anybody who's listening, you said something there. It's not even just about leadership. It's actually about wanting to be in government, advocacy. So it's one of those things. It's one of those places where you would naturally that becomes a part of your life, basically. Good stuff. Good stuff. Someone is already visualizing the governor of Oyo State here. Well, I said it earlier, so I guess in the in the mouth of two, the truth is established. John Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership," and that's a quote that pretty much resonates when you talk about leadership around the world. And we live in this world where popularity can place people in office. We see fanatics placing people in political office, aka the past government in the United Kingdom and United States. I didn't mention names. We see leaders in organizations placed in roles of leadership based on position, which you know is the lowest form of position of leadership. Do you feel a great deal of people to not fully understand the responsibilities connected with leadership, and therefore allows the wrong people to now come into places of, or give the wrong people positions of responsibility? How do we marry this? People who have a good heart and the place of popularity also, and popularity bringing people into leadership. I don't know if I've made any sense with what I'm trying to say.
I'll take what I got from you. I think so. I said earlier on, there's a place of doing and there's a place of being. Now you can copy templates, and people can get into government or any leadership position by eye service. So they know, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you get there. You will become popular. And so people, in the name of disguising, they copy the template to get to leadership. The problem they really don't know is that when you get to leadership without character, you're setting yourself up for failure. So you might get there without a doubt, and we've seen many that have gotten to positions of authority, but character is what keeps you in office. Character is what is going to make you survive. Character is what is going to protect you when you're in office. And because those people were more of human doings than human beings, not integrating those other values, what happens is they get there and the office exposes them. The office shows their limitations. The office shows their childishness. The office shows their irresponsibility. The office shows all of those things. They act like babies. They act like people that, you know, they miss the mark. They miss the road. You wonder, how did they get there? They got there because they maybe propaganda, maybe techniques they had learned. There are principles that you will take, that you will follow, that will get you to be successful. Yes, there are principles, there are laws, they operate everywhere. But what happens is when they get there and they have no values, no standards, no character, they will expose themselves and they will go the other way. So if I got your question correctly, yes, people can manipulate their ways to leadership. It is correct. And a lot of people do manipulate their ways to leadership. Sometimes a leadership position is transactional. And I'll use politics as an example. You know, people put people in positions of authority because they believe when they get to office, they will be able to service me or my interests. And that is all over the world. You understand? They put people that are not as competent because they believe that they can control such people when they get into office. But what happens, as I said, is you need people that have the right value system, the right character to become great leaders. Really, it's not just competence you need character as well.
Wow, that's so good. What you were talking earlier, actually, you mentioned that a good leader cares, and you went on to give some examples. How do we know
Absolutely.
what the right things to care about? The fact that you even have opposing parties, right? That tells you what people care about differ, isn't it? So how do we tap into the right things that would add value to people? Are you there? Are you there? I know we've got a delay. All right. Let me just read some of these comments. Are you there?
Okay, I'm
was it my network? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, your network was breaking. So yes,
right.
I couldn't quite
you
get
mentioned
your question. Now I can hear you. Yes.
All right. Okay. So you talked about good leaders, that a good leader, part of the values you talked about was that good leaders care. And I said just the fact that you have an opposing party alone tells you that different people have differing opinions or different things they care about.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we choose? How do we even choose the right thing to care about? How do we tap into the right things that would actually add value to people?
Okay, so I'm tempted to take that question from the political angles strictly, but I hope it will make sense to different other industries. So for me, there are some fundamental values I believe you owe everybody. You must value life. You must value or you must value your neighbor. And let me start by saying your values come from information you have gotten. So, for example, as a Christian, one of my values comes from the Bible, from the scriptures. Different people get their values from their environment, from what they've seen and whatnot. So let's bear that in mind. And that's why different people may value different things differently. But for me, I believe that there's some fundamental values that are right to life. You need to value life. You need to value the other person as a human being. And those things affect your thinking and ultimately the way you behave. Do you understand? So it is very key. But your question is, say, for example, using the Conservative and the Labour Party. Let me go to the UK system now. You have the Conservative, and both of them care about two different things. Well, in politics, the people that feel something is the most important thing will support that party. But you care based on your values. That's where I'm going to. So in Nigeria, there's a lot of underdevelopment. It breaks my heart to see a child that cannot drink good water. And it breaks my heart to see a child that cannot go to school because his parents cannot afford it, or goes to school and cannot afford the uniform, or cannot afford the shoe or bags and all of those things. Now, those things matter to me as a person, and it shows in the things I do. To somebody else, it may not matter much. Do you understand? Because their values are slightly different. So your ultimately decide what you value. And then those in politics, those that support what you value the most will probably vote for you in the majority. And that's why in the more developed democracies where you have ideologies, it swings. Sometimes people value the conservative mode of
all right, just bear with us. He'll be here.
I'm not sure if you can still hear me.
I can hear you. Go on. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
So
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can
I'm
hear
not
you.
sure if can you
I
still
can
hear
hear you.
me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
Not quite sure
Yes, I can hear
what's
you.
going on. Okay, you're back.
I
All
can
right,
hear you.
great.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So it's down to values. Basically, that's what you were saying. You know, the first time I met you, I'm going to go back there briefly. The first time I met you, one of the first questions I asked you was, or I was intrigued to know, um, I was intrigued to know how is it even possible for you to be a Christian politician in Nigeria? And you said so many wonderful things in that conversation that I want to. I'm sure that's what's on the minds of people. How is it possible for you to have? I'm sure you've seen things. How are you able to go through those things and be a good Christian politician? And does being a Christian politician, um,
Wow.
hello,
Okay,
hello,
so again, you were offline.
wow, froze, wow, you see my
Please,
connection
yes,
today.
please. It seems like it. Please, could you go again?
Oh, really?
Yes, please.
Okay, but can you hear me right now?
Now I can. Perfect.
Right. So how is it possible for you to be a Christian
Hmm.
politician in
Hmm.
a country like Nigeria? And
Hmm.
and does being a Christian politician make you occasionally compromise on your values to make things happen?
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So I believe that politics is a place where there's a lot of power play.
Mm,
And particularly in Africa, people consult many things to receive power. And
mm,
for me, I stay with what I know, and what I know works and has been working for me. Um, I'll give you some examples. When I wanted to contest, and I say this not to discourage people. Let me put that caveat out. I say this not to discourage people because a lot of people have run from Nigerian politics because they say it's diabolical, and they say, oh, it's about there's witchcraft and all of that. It's everywhere, whether or not you're in politics, it's everywhere. But the fact is that when I wanted to contest, I had offers. I had people tell me, if you're going to win, you're going to have to do certain things. And I said to them that no, I'm not going to compromise my values, my godly values, what keeps me who I am. I'm not going to compromise that. And that for me is one thing I will forever be grateful for, because they said something about taking a calabash and putting it somewhere and blowing certain things and all of that stuff. But thank God I didn't, because I say jokingly to some of my colleagues, those that did it out of desperation, they are now in bondage because they have to keep going back to renew whatever they did. Do you understand? So
mm,
for me, it is a system that operates, but you need to know where you stand and stand where you stand. And for me, God has been more than enough. So that is it, and is what takes you somewhere that will keep you there. Do you understand? A
love it.
fish
Love it.
that if a fish that was made in water cannot now say, I don't want water anymore, I want to live on land. If I got there knowing I got there because God helped me to get there, there is no need to compromise it now that I'm there.
Mm,
Is the one that kept me there, that took me there, that kept me there, that promoted me there, that will continue to lead me there. So that is my own
wow.
philosophy, and it's
So
now. But for how do you keep it? You need to announce who you are very quickly. You need to announce, because you see, it's like you are in a power play and everybody's looking at each other. What does he believe? How strong is he? But people already know, oh, he's a pastor. Oh, he won't do that. So they don't even give you some things that would come like temptations, because they already know he won't play ball. Oh, it's a waste of your time. Don't bother going to him. So a lot of those things are important because you announce who you are very early on. So there are certain things that won't come to you, but they're still, even with that, they will still bring some things to you. And you see, one of my friends in politics says, "Shay, we need to learn to pick our battles. You can't fight every time. You have to. Sometimes you negotiate, if you like, the lesser of two evils, but never ever compromise your values. I think for me that is the key principle. How much they can give you to compromise your value is how much you're worth. So that's how I see it, and for me, at least at this level, it's easier to contain because, as I said, I'm a lawmaker now. When you are going for elections, when you want something, that's when they offer you a lot of things. Because, oh, if you do this, we'll vote for you. If you do this, we'll do this. Do you understand? That's when a lot of temptations come. But now I'm in office, I don't get any of those sort of things coming my way.
Wow. So still right there, because listening to you say what you just said is beautiful, very Christianese. Because you and I also know that
Yes.
there have been people who
Yes.
are of the same faith, who have gone in there and who messed up. So what's your daily routine like to keep you grounded? This is one of those questions I asked when I met you a few days ago, a few years ago. How have you stayed grounded such that these values are still standing?
Yeah, so let me say this about people that go in there, because I get that question a lot. Why do people change when they get into office? Now, I must say, I've been in governance. This year makes it 10 years. I got into government in 2011. This is 2021. So I've been in governance for 10 years. And one of the things I see is the casualness of people that come into governance. You are coming into a culture. You are coming into a terrain where there are principalities and powers, where there are people that control the system. And then you come in casually. They will eat you for lunch. So there are different ways. There are different ways you get attacked. Sometimes is against you, frontal adversarial challenge. Excuse me. And sometimes, they come like they are your friends. So sometimes people challenge you to your face and they make you know we are your opponents. And sometimes they say, won't you join us? We have something for you. You just have to join us and you'll be okay. So it's not every time people confront you, because less people think, oh, when they come, I'll be ready for them. I won't let them compromise me. Sometimes they don't come that way. Sometimes they say, there's a document coming to your table. We need you to sign that document. Your money is already in your car. We've already put the money in your car. Now, that isn't confrontational. That is more, we've brought you into our family. And then at that point, you have some decisions to make. Do you understand? What are they telling me to do? And then you need to start to look very closely. So I believe strongly that a lot of Christians are casual when they come in, and that's why we need to be more prepared when we're taking these offices, either as an appointment or an election. You need to go in very, very prepared and know what you're facing. Now, my daily routine is, I mean, as you might imagine, I spend time in the Word. I make sure I'm grounded in that aspect, because when you want to do wrong, most times the Holy Spirit will tell you, "Hey, mate, you're stepping your bounds. You're about to step your bounds." So it is that consciousness that you're not alone. It is that consciousnness that, as you go through the day, there's someone that is speaking to you. I remember there was a friend of mine that came into my office. She worked in the Abuja office, and she came to Ibadan office, and she saw a Bible by my table. And she said, "Sheyi, how come you kept your Bible by your table?" And I thought it was a bit of a funny question. I'm like, I don't understand. What is wrong with the Bible next to my table? It was on on the table on the side. So I was wondering. She said, but this is governor's office. This was when I was working with the former governor. That are you not scared or are you not concerned that people will judge you because of the Bible? I said, no, I'm not actually. I want them to know what I stand for, number one. And number two, this is, when some of my colleagues were scared to go on holidays, some of my colleagues were scared to do things. I was never scared. I kept going on holidays because only God could take me out. It was him that put me there. Only he could take me out. I was not scared they would manipulate. They would tell me. I wasn't concerned.
Are you there? Bear with us. This is amazing stuff with Honourable Seyi Adisa. Hey guys, get your questions ready. Get your questions ready. He's just a phenomenal someone. All right, you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here.
All right, good stuff.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you were saying you talked about I mean you're able to live your life and everybody's able to tell who you are and whose you are basically. And so that leads me to, so there's that conviction. What's your inner circle like? Because definitely you have to have a strong inner circle of people that you have either empowered to make sure that you are consistently all in check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sorry, is it my internet? Is it my internet? Maybe I need to change service
It's
provider.
yours, it's yours. Are you able to change it?
Can you hear me? Is it my internet?
Yeah, it's yours.
Is it
But we
from
can
my
hear you.
side? Maybe I should change
Yes,
the
it is.
internet provider.
It is. It is.
I'm here. Not the bad on network.
By the way,
I
was running.
always,
Yeah, it is. It is from your
I could
end.
always change the.
Yeah, if
Okay,
you
so
can,
just give me a second. Let me
no
get
problem.
on. All right, I'll do that immediately.
Right, guys, if you've got questions, you can put them up. I'll read out your questions for Honourable Seyi Adisa. I would also encourage that we keep him in our prayers. This is one man we want to see go right to the very top as he begins to model leadership across, such that we can have people who would look up to people like him. And that generation, I'm sure he's not just the only one. We can all begin to learn, and the next generation has hope with people like Honourable Seyi Adisa. Are you here? Have you sorted yourself out now? All right. He said a lot of things. While we wait for him to come on, he said a lot of things. You have to have a relationship with God. You have to know his voice. And he talked about values. He's she shared so much. You're here now. Good stuff. All right. When you were talking, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. When you were talking earlier, you talked about talking the talk and not walking the walk. Why, in your opinion, do you think that some people place selfish ambition, selfish indulgence over people while in a place of influence? What makes a good leader and what makes a bad leader, in your opinion?
So that question is it's like saying, why are people greedy or why are people selfish? Um, that's how I can you. I
Mm-hmm.
hope you can hear me just fine.
Yeah, I
You
can.
know,
This is perfect.
um, so there is something that's happened in Africa. Let me speak from the African point of view. A lot of people have parents that worked in the civil service and they worked for 30 years and they finished for 35 years and they didn't get any pension or gratuity. And so the children have come to this point of view that we're not going to be like our parents. We're going to take
Mm,
the laws into our hands and we're going to ensure that the generation to the fourth to the fifth generation would never suffer again. And so what they decide to do is take the commonwealth of everyone and keep it for generations to come. So you can say at the bottom line of everything is a fear of the unknown, is a fear of the future. And this fear operates in certain ways whereby people, they loot without conscience. They loot without any any regard, and the idea is that, look, let me make sure that me and my future generation, they are safe. Because for me, every time I ask people, why do you want to go into politics? And that is a question I get to ask a lot of people that come and say, Shay, can you mentor me? Somebody once said on my political show, he said, so that my family and I will be okay. And obviously, there and then I could tell that you're clearly in politics for the wrong reason.
mm,
If you add that with the fact that we have a lot of unemployment and politics is seen as a job, compared to other parts of the world where politics is a thing of service, then you're going to get a lot of people that are going there just for the financial gains. So why are people in this situation? A lot of it is scarcity. A lot of it is this fear that, look, I don't want to be in a position whereby my parents suffer. I don't want to suffer. Or it's just outright greed. They have the wrong values. They have the wrong value system. They have the wrong mindset, and it shows in their behavior, in how they do things. Remember, and I always say this to people, that it's people like me and you that go into politics. They didn't come
mm-hmm.
from a different planet. They didn't come from a different space. They carry the same values that the culture currently has. When I was doing my National Youth Service Corps, there was a young man like myself that was at the program, and he said to me he wanted to join the police force. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Why do you want to join the police force?" And he said to my face, he said, because that's the quickest way to get out of the national cake. That was his answer. He said that was the quickest way to get out of his national cake. So if you listen to it, you will see that it is this situation of
Greed.
everybody going to politics to get what you can get. Politics should be about giving, service, giving to the community. But we have turned it on its head round, and we're going in there for what we can get, and that is rather
So how do
it's rather
people like
shameful.
you? So how do people like you begin to change that narrative?
So I mean, one of my assignments currently is raising as many, I would say, Christian politicians, but sometimes I don't want to just say Christians, people with the right values, godly values, or Christians preferably for me, into the system. Now, politics is set up in a way whereby the thresholds are there to deter people. The thresholds are there to make sure a lot of the right people with the right values don't come there. They tell you things about insecurity. They tell you things about diabolical means. They tell you all these things to scare you and keep you away. But my campaign and my advocacy is to say, look, guys, if you have that conviction, if you have that vision in your heart, if that is what God is saying you should do, because not everybody will run for office. Some are going to be in governance from the point of view of appointment. Some are going to work outside the system and support those in the system. But whatever way God is showing you through visions and through your convictions, you need to take those steps. I spoke to a young man, he lives in Ethiopia, and he's Nigerian. And he said, Seyi, I know God wants me to come into governance in Nigeria, but my family is okay. We're all okay over here. I'm not sure I'm ready to make that move. So there are certain people that God has called for this assignment, and we need to get off and start going into this field. That is, if you know me, my colleagues from secondary school, they wonder, how did this guy get into politics? He doesn't look like it. He was very quiet. He didn't speak much. He was reserved. And then hearing that same quiet, slim, lanky, small boy becoming a politician in a state like Oyo, that is one of the most politically volatile states in Nigeria, and not just being there for 10 years. It doesn't make sense. And that's why I feel my story is there to tell so many people that, look, you can do this thing. You can be a part of this journey, because I believe that we have answers from people's prayers. We are answers to prayers, and we need to get going on this matter. So my assignment is to raise as many Christian politicians to get into the system, to become torch bearers, to become light, to be able to be salt, to be light, to change the culture. This is the place that needs the most Christians. This is the sector that needs the most, because politics affects every area of our life. Politics affects education, affects health, affects security, and so we need the right people making decisions on behalf of the entire nation.
So how do you? I'm actually very intrigued. How do you continue to grow and develop yourself as a leader?
So learning is one of my values. I'm always learning. My library, I read on average maybe 2 hours a day, just taking in leadership books, development books. I'm a big YouTube fan. I listen to Miles Monroe, leadership tapes, and all of that. So and then I have started developing my own content, my mentoring program, my podcast, my political show. So I've been taking a lot in, and now I'm starting to create content for others as well. So development, it has to be intentional. You have to be intentional about it. And I'm building the systems, the support systems to allow me to do that more. I also delegate a lot so that I free enough time for me to do these things.
So
my schedule is very busy, but I have a fantastic team that works with me, and they help me. Somebody in communications, somebody in the grassroots mobilization, somebody in my administrative secretariat, and so on and so forth. So I have a team that works with me, and that gives me enough time to be able to do some of the things I cannot delegate.
That's amazing. I mean, you're living the theory, not you're actually working it and not just saying it. You spoke about succession. So let's talk about succession. And I just never understand. And this is not just down to politics. Even for those of us as Christians, right? You see it in the church systems. You see it across even businesses. People, especially from a place like Nigeria, people just sit down there and never want to give opportunities to any other person. So in an environment where we see power shifting between the hands of the same old men, ruling as military leaders, then coming back to rule as civilians, where is democracy in all of this? And because you sit in the middle of all this, pretty much, when we discuss responsible leadership like this, what exactly is wrong? And I'm going to go there with Nigerian politics. And what is right?
What is wrong with it?
Yeah, and is there anything right at all that we can actually get from Nigerian politics? I mean, people like you are a light. People like you are a breath of fresh air. You understand? And that's why I wanted to showcase people like you, and we're going to make sure this is going to be on YouTube and the lights, so that people can still see the good. So people like you are that light, but there are obviously not many of you. Is there anything good people can see to aspire to? Anything right in politics in Nigeria?
So we have a lot of good people in the system. They're not enough. They're not a critical mass. So you find them like lone voices in several places. I have a few friends in the vice president's office in other states as well. And these are people that are passionate and want to see development. They want to see Nigeria grow. They're just not a critical mass, which is why I said one of my assignments is to raise more people to win elections, to get into the system, just, people with the right value system. So what is the good is that, whether we like it or not, Nigeria, I know people don't like to hear this, is that we're growing. And I saw elections in 2011, I saw it in 2015, I saw it in 2019. It is changing gradually. We need to get the right people in some of these leadership positions. When you start to get the right people in these places, they will start to close out. I mean, Nigeria is complex. Nigeria is complex. And what I'm saying is maybe just the small wins I see in different areas. I see small wins here, small wins here, small wins here. But ultimately, there are still some wins we should be grateful for. But when the majority of the people are in politics for the fame, for the prestige, for the power, for the money, then what you're likely to see, as it were, is what we are seeing today. So how do we change it? Is to grow a new crop of people. Those in the system must continue to encourage each other. You must continue to find ways to work together so that your voices can be louder, so that you can support and pull yourselves up to positions of influence where you can make more changes. So I come from the optimistic point of view that yes, there is a lot still to be done, but we're not where we used to be, and it is growing, gently. I keep saying that all it takes is for, maybe by mistake, a good leader to get into a good position, and you see drastic changes. One we may not expect to happen in 5-10 years can happen in 6 months. All you just need is just, maybe it's by mistake, by stroke of fortune, or by God's hand. Just get somebody that has the right values and character, getting into the right system, and you see a lot of changes. And I believe that very strongly. So I see, with technology coming in, with some things coming in, things are starting to change. But there's still a long way to go.
Wow. You studied here in the UK. You went to a good university. And many of us migrated just like you, right, to come study. And I'm intrigued to find out what switched for you that made you want to go back to serve when people like me decided we're not we're not coming back. We would rather stay here, and if I'm being honest, many of us, you see people working their 9 to 5 jobs, but when I'm talking to someone like you, I can hear somebody who's fulfilled. I hear somebody who is very clear about their assignment. So I want you to speak to those of us in diaspora. There are possibly a lot of people who are sitting out here who could potentially, especially even Christians, who could potentially have been doing much better at home and being that light like you, who are stuck in. I mean, this question has various layers. How come with your legal parts and everything, why didn't you decide to go do a typical job?
So right? Thank you. I want to answer that question in two ways. The first one is I didn't want to go back. So I won't take any credit for wanting to go back. I got to a position where I had to go back. When I finished my LPC, I got a distinction, and I was going to start with a big law firm, a top 10 law firm. But things didn't go as planned. I couldn't get a work permit. And at a point, I had just 6 months left in the UK, and I had to leave. So it wasn't like I just said, I'm tired of the UK. No, it was more or less like God was saying, hey, mate, it's time to go back now, and I cried. I didn't want to, because I couldn't see what, after working so hard in the UK and all I'd done, learned, and the friends and family and all of those things, and then to go back to Nigeria where I had no more friends, or I thought I had no more friends, and all of that. I couldn't see what God was doing at the time. But I went there and I just kind of got it back into the process. And it's like he's there before you get there. So he had prepared the way, So I got into Nigeria and so many challenges. It was so tough getting back in. You're used to, having constant electricity and all of those things you guys are aware of. Even something as small as how often people press their horn. In the UK, you don't press your horn unless you have to, like there's an accident. In Nigeria, they can sing with the horn. Like, I'm like, what's going on here? So I had all these changes happen to me. But, God was kind of working me. Okay, so you're there. Okay, go to NYSC. From NYSC, go to law school. I didn't want to do law anymore when I go back to Nigeria. But, I went through the process. And then when I had started my law firm, the opportunity to go into government came. So that is my story. I was kind of forced out of the UK. But I felt God was saying, look, your time is up. You have to go now. So that was how I left. Now, I believe very strongly in the House of Assembly. I'm the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. That's the committee that deals with the diasporan community. And I believe very strongly that in this work, there is a place for the diasporan community. If God is saying come back, then come back. Don't have to get him to force you to come back. But I still feel that somehow the diasporan community has a big part to play in the remaking or the rebuilding of Nigeria. I see the diasporan community, strategically placed to, whether it's as sponsors or financiers or as technical specialists or know-how, they have the know-how or whatever it is. I see the diasporan community is going to play its part in the new Nigeria we're all hoping and praying for. So what is important is follow your heart, follow what God is telling you to do part time. It's not, your blessing is not in a location, it's in you, it's in God in you. You understand? So just listen to where he says. If he says it's Canada, if he says it's Nigeria, if he says it's the UK, just follow where he says you should be. Ever since I go back and I realized this was my purpose, I've never wanted to go and stay abroad anymore. In fact, if I stay longer than 2-3 weeks, I start to feel like I need to go back. I need to go back to Nigeria. So that's how I feel. But that's because I know that is my purpose now, and you need to find out what yours is and follow accordingly.
Wow, that's amazing. I think we're going to end here so that we don't go over 9 o'clock. And I know you came in straight from work and jumped on this. I really do appreciate your time. People are going to watch this. This has been such great learning. And I can't even wait to release it and begin to mine some of the teachings from tonight and for us to put it out there. For those of us who are your supporters, we believe in you. We're praying God's best for you. We're trusting that he will take people like you right to the very top, keep you, preserve your values, hold your hand. You will not fail, falter, or fade. Thank you so much. Honourable Seyi Adisa, I'm glad that I know you. I'm glad that you're my friend. And once again, please remember me, your kingdom.
My brother, any day, anytime. And thank you. I don't want to be saying in public our private discussions, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all you do as well. It's a privilege to know you.
God bless you, sir. All right, people. Till next week when we have another guest. It's big thank you to Honourable Seyi Adisa. Good night, everybody, and God bless. Thank you.